This is a fun, quick episode of the Bridgeton Beacon, not the typical format, primarily because the audio you're about to hear was previously lost. This audio is from an April conversation in 2022 with New Jersey's Secretary of Agriculture, Doug Fisher. Long before Doug was the Secretary of Agriculture for the state, he was delivering lunch from Fisher's Market to the P.J. Ritter Company in Bridgeton, New Jersey. Here's a few stories about Doug's personal involvement with that long-standing Bridgeton institution.
Doug, and talk for a minute about a neat event that happened at Fisher's Food Center with Paul Ritter. You and I were speaking about Ritters, and why don't you describe what happened? Because I know when I was speaking with Paul, he mentioned it to me as well. So I'm going to let you tell the story.
First of all, with the Ritter family, of course, is such a huge institution in such a Bridgeton's past. And in fact, I even remember as a child, as a teenager, delivering to the meats from our store, from our meat packing plant to the workers' cafeteria. So that's how far back my relationship goes, just remembering that. And then fast forward any number of years, the Ritters, Paul Ritter mentioned to me that he was bringing back ketchup. So many people had asked for Ritter's ketchup. I mean, they were pioneers in this. They just lamented the fact that there wasn't the opportunity to buy it. So Paul went and talked to a private labor packer, and they brought it back with the Ritter label. And so we had an event at Fisher's, and Paul was there for the day, and folks would come in, and they all would. We had a huge display, and then they would come in and they would get their bottle of ketchup because they were so excited to bring back this institutional favorite that they all remembered. Either worked at the plant, or they remember buying lots of Ritter products, whether it was asparagus or some of the sauces, and particularly, of course, this world famous P.J. Ritter ketchup. And it was a fun day. And and as people came through, they would tell us their stories, about how they knew the family or how they worked there, or and it's that sort of special thing that you just that we all savor. And that's what I found. They not only savored the flavor and the ketchup,
sure.
But they
everybody
savored their
remembers
experience.
The smell of Ritter's ketchup in the summer, that's for sure. And I know when Paul Hunsberger's one of his last interviews was Paul Ritter, and there was actually an article in the New York Times about it, and he said, Paul Hunsberger said to Paul Ritter, a lot of people in the area remember that delicious aroma in the air of cooking tomatoes. And Paul said that smell was prosperity. And you're right.
Yeah.
It closed, but then so many people asked about it. They did another run, and you were the host for that event. So that's really kind of a neat story that I wanted to ask you about.
And that event included Paul Ritter III, as well as David Ritter and John Ritter, his brothers, all descendants of the P.J. Ritter Company founder and ultimately their grandfather who sold it.
Sure, and we remember the trucks backing up all up Broad Street, waiting for their chance to get into the plant to be able to process their tomatoes, but it was, just backed up for, hundreds, well, not hundreds, but certainly
right.
Scores of trucks.
Sure.
All with the pyramid and the baskets all pyramided up on top of those trucks. So it was a grand old time.
Another example of a multi-generational family.
Yeah, Mrs. Ritter, I'll never forget one time she was telling me that Mrs. McCormick, and I said to her, well, which Mrs. McCormick is that? She goes, well, and then Mrs. McCormick from the Spice Company. We're great friends.
That's
it was
fantastic.
Just very cool. Yeah, because they bought spices from McCormick.
That's really cool. Great. Well, listen, thank you so much for sharing that story with me. I appreciate it very much.
Editor's note, Dorothy Ritter was my grandmother, and I can speak only from my perspective. And as a young boy, I can tell you she was quite a presence, and she was all about business. As I grew older, I was lucky to spend a summer as the ground crew for crop duster Joe Shoemaker of Oakland Farms, just down the road from Dorothy Ritter's home on Windy Hill. Our lunchtime activity that summer would consist of me coming and sitting next to Grandma while she lay in bed and debating the headlines from the Wall Street Journal until I had to go back to work. That was the most fun I've ever had with my grandmother, as she was hilarious. She was as warm and funny as anyone I knew. Dorothy Ritter passed away in 2002 at the age of 90.
Thanks again for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe anywhere you listen.
This episode of the Bridgeton Beacon Podcast is brought to you by the law office of Meg McCormick Hoerner in Bridgeton and Ocean City, New Jersey. While of course you're not going to need a criminal attorney, it's good to know Meg's around just in case someone you know does. That's the law offices of Meg McCormick Hoerner at HoernerLaw.com. That's HOERNER law.com. If you are a law firm or attorney and you'd like to get into legal podcasting, visit lawfirmpodcasts.com. Niche podcast production services are provided by the Niche Podcast Network. Launch, production, and marketing services for business of all types. That's nichepodcast.net. We'd also like to thank the Bridgeton Rotary Club. In September, both Meg and I were invited to present to the Bridgeton Rotary Club's Thursday luncheon regarding podcasting and all the advantages it offers from a sales and marketing perspective. If anyone has questions about starting a podcast, feel free to reach out to Meg through thebridgetonbeacon.com, or you can call me at 239-351-5575. Ask for Tom Ritter.